every Wednesday, having either rain or snow. So we followed our tradition a little bit this time. I hope that you are impressed with the architecture. The building is always described as either Renaissance Revival or Italianate, so it's entirely appropriate for your wonderful panel discussion and lectures this evening. I would not be doing my job if I did not ask you all to consider membership. We have membership packets downstairs. We have a special under 35 membership and 2 other levels as well. So I hope that you will at least pick up the packet. It will give you a nice picture of the reading room in case you didn't get one with your phone already. And I also want to tell you that opening on December 6th from 2 to 5 will be the exhibition that it was still going up today. It is Philadelphia Industry, Past and Present. It is a juried show. And the pieces are for sale. 1/4 of what the artists make comes to us for our conservation fund. So if you're interested in adding some contemporary art to your collections, I hope you'll come on Sunday. The show will be on through January 2nd, but we are allowing people who buy things early enough to take theirs away if they want to use it as a present for Christmas. So December 23rd, buyers who want their piece as a present, they come in and take it away and wrap it up and surprise someone with it. Now it is my great pleasure to introduce you to Dr. Eugenio Balderini, who is the Deputy Consul General of Italy in Philadelphia. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Eugenio Balderini, Vice Consul of Italy in Philadelphia. First, let me thank the Ateneo for hosting this event. Of course, the moderator, the speakers, Simone, Capra, and Dario, Scaravelli, and the organizer, Pifilli. Pifilli, that has organized this beautiful talk on architecture and urban identity. Pifilli is an association of Italian young professionals that has organized a variety of cultural events since 2012. And as a Consul General of Italy, we are very grateful to them, above all because they have been promoting constantly a true and not stereotyped image of Italy. Perhaps not everybody knows that Italy in the European Union is the first producer, manufacturer of furniture, is the second exporter of machinery. It's 100 billion euros worth. Is a world leader in the production of super yachts. It's an undisputed leader in the aerospace sector. It was the third country after the Soviet Union and the US to send a satellite into orbit. And so on. It is also the country with the largest number of UNESCO World Heritage Sites. And what really lays beyond these success stories? In my opinion, just one thing: the Italian talent, the Italian creativity. And tonight we have here, 2 young but very talented and already successful Italian architects. And I'm really sure that you will enjoy this conversation tonight. Thank you again.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Francesco Svezzuti, and I'm part of PI Fili, Professionista Italiano of Philadelphia. PI Fili is a non-profit organization that's focusing on presenting to the American public the contemporary image of Italian culture. And what we are doing tonight is part of it. There is not only Italians on the board, and Srdjan, thank you very much for being here and for contributing with your great insight to the conversation from tonight. With your mediation, for sure, the peculiarities of our 2 speakers are going to be conveyed even more effectively to to the audience. We are focused also on networking about professionals, both from the region and Italy, of course. And through our work, we also like to put stronger roots in the society and in the region of Philadelphia. I see there is a diverse audience tonight. I'm very happy to see this. It's great to have combined non-architects and prominent figures from the field of architecture, both from the academia and the profession tonight. I would like to thank so much tonight the Athenaeum. The Athenaeum is co-sponsoring with PI Philly tonight's event, and without your help, Sandra, and your Sandra and Sisa, but thank you so much for believing in PI Philly, and this is the second time we have a great event in architecture in this wonderful structure. And I would like to thank so much the Italian Consulate. The Italian Consulate has been next to PI Philly since its inception, and for 4 years has been a growing experience for us. We are so grateful because with this alliance that we hope is going to be stronger and deeper in the future, we are sure that since you are there, we are doing something that is valuable for the Italian community in Philadelphia and also beyond. Before I leave, I would like to remind you that you have the opportunity and you can contribute to PI Philly, becoming a member, and please check it out on our website, or you can also become a member tonight if you like. We would like to thank so much also our collaborators. Without them, it's not possible to do much because we are people working on I call it work, but it's voluntary work. And without our valuable collaborator, it would not be possible. And I would like to invite tonight Ariel Vasquez from Transforma Studio to briefly introduce our great moderator, Srdjan.
Good evening. I'm not like the honorary Italian, but I'm not, so I'm just going to say. I want to thank Francesco for giving me the opportunity to be here and to help me give my 2 cents, in a sense, in this conversation. So, first of all, without further ado, I want to introduce a gentleman that is quite known in the world of architecture. Our moderator tonight, Srdjan Jovanovic Weiss. Srdjan has a variety of books that includes Socialist Architecture, the Management Act in 2012 with Armin Linked, Almost Architecture, and the Solitude of Academy in 2006, Division of Powers on the Architecture in Adjustment, Soft 2008, Those Highway Affection, School of Missing Studies in 2007, a coming book entitled After Yugoslavia, Architecture of Balkanization is a result of his doctorate at Goldwyn Center for Research and Architecture in London. His work has been published in books, magazines, and journals such as Harvard Guide to Shopping, Harvard Science Magazine, Cabinet Magazine, Perspecta, Accelerator, Forensics, Abitare, Domus. If someone said participate. Network cultures beyond dictionaries and speculations. Nationality paper, concurrent urbanism, threshold, inhabited geometry, and anteing, and 100 architects and 10 critics by flight. His architectural design includes Villa 62 in Portos, China, urbanist by Ai Weiwei, Thread Waxing Space, Participating Inc., the Swiss Institute of Contemporary Art in New York, the Slow Foundation Office in Philadelphia, Handel Stadium Center for Recreation and New Media, and Municipal Crematorium in Novi Sad, Serbia. The C-Block lightweight modular furniture produced for the Museum of Contemporary Art in Novi Sad, St. Mark's. And many airplanes, so I need to make this short. Srdjan, you have done a lot of things, but without further ado, I want to really thank Srdjan for being here tonight, moderating the guys from SPARTT, and you guys can start.
Do you hear me? Yes. Good. Very good. Thank you so much. My name is Srdjan, and I am really honored to be here tonight to talk about this amazing office from Roma and to introduce them, especially in the because series of images to just introduce our discussion, and then we'll go to their presentation and we have all the questions from the floor. This image here, if I didn't tell you that this is Ai Weiwei, you would know. And this is like urban identity. If I do not tell you what Philadelphia city is like, you would not know. Okay? So this is Ai Weiwei giving a presentation of a new city in north of China by burying himself in sand. No architect, no urban designer would do that. Only an artist would do that. And by the way, can I ask, how many architects are here in the room? Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. This is an image I usually show, which is a very ordinary image of the world with that we know. It's a political map of the world made by United Nations, but what is interesting with this map is that there are no colors like yellow, red, green and blue. Everything is basically beige, and all the countries are defined by borders. If you zoom into the area where I was born, where I grew up, which is just next to Italy, across the Adriatic Sea, you can notice that the countries that came out of my former country are not written by letters, they are written by numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I am from number 3. And I have friends in all of the numbers, and I worked in all the numbers, as well as in Italy. And I find this as an identity a really interesting situation, because this is in fact what we are facing today when we think about the world and think about cities especially. Philadelphia. In 2010, I was commissioned by a magazine, amazing magazine from Italy, from Milan, called Abitare, and by a person who we have to thank for amazing prominence of architects and artists from Europe, called Stefano Boeri, to make a kind of observe architecture in Philadelphia, and to report back to Milan headquarters what it is. So this is a map that they made of current architects in various parts of the world, and 10 of them from Philadelphia. So Philadelphia has an amazing talent, and you guys live in an amazing city. Now, we also, why I like the work of STARTT is that my office has engaged in ways of how to deal with empty parts of the city, like Philadelphia has, especially north of Philadelphia, similar to Detroit, where people left to live somewhere else. So we made the calculation to actually, instead of bringing people back into the city, to actually bring earth to the city from the construction in suburban areas which are not taxed. So in that sense, we presented this project in China. In fact, because China is today one of the most amazing sort of producers of like land being transported here and there, and then we actually made it work so that I would like to show this. Yeah, it doesn't work. Okay, fine, doesn't work. So in fact, I would like to introduce this discussion with my friends in Rome, which we became all your friends. Can you start? Yeah. How do you do it? Start. Not. Okay. Doesn't matter. So we started our discussion here, especially because of the group from Rome is really very well known for the project of Vatami. The redefining the idea of what is square is in front of a major museum in Rome, and I really would like to also commence this discussion about what the future of public space really is, not simply in Europe but also in America, on the East Coast, and how to actually, in fact, how to use your experience and your ideas to be able to make cities better. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Good evening, and thanks to be here. Thanks to the Athenaeum for hosting to Philly. And now, start. We are an office of architecture and territory transformation. When we decided to create the office, we decided not to just design an office just for architecture, but also we would like to present our work in order to present the work of architects as the work to design spaces. She said, okay, thanks. And so on. This evening, we would like to present 3 issues we really love and we really like to present you. Shape, scale, scape. Shape, love for forms. We are interested in how the shapes are able to improve through the jokes, through the games, our possibility of sociality. So how the shapes can help us within our cities. This is a really famous game for children designed in the 50s by Somari, an Italian designer. And it was a square, but in reality it was a zoo of animals. So how can you recognize a form and what is the capability of a form? Then scale. This is the really made in Italy design from the spoon to the city. It was the slogan from Ernesto Nathan Rogers, was one of the best Italian architect thinker. He wrote the manifesto with Le Corbusier of modern architecture. And so the scale for us is also a question of game, how to create an auto-scale spaces in order to create surprises, and in order to create spaces the man and the woman can discover. This is a really famous movie from an Italian director, Crialese, where there was these Sicilian guys, they had to move to America, and they imagine this big continent with the vegetables were really big, out of scale.
If I can add something, also the theme of the scale is very important to us because with the method we can have interventions that go from object design to city design. So our office is not specialized in something specific, but it goes through the scales and using the instruments of architecture as well as the cultural background that characterize us, our studies and so on, to design either from the object to the city, from the teaspoon to the city. So like he said, from the outside.
In this project we are going to see this evening from the table, not from the spoon to...
Yeah, from the table to
from the table to the master part to the city.
It's going to be like this.
Then the last issue is Cape. Another movie to speak about it, the well-known Marco Battellini. And what is the scale, landscape, urban scale, city scale, and so on. And so the site and the imaginary. Why? Because we think that within the globalization, the art, the movies, the photos are able to suggest us to create a common and shared imaginary, able to narrow the places. Also, if the imaginary about the specific sites are different from the sites themselves. So the idea is how to create architecture through the shared imaginary as an antidote to homologation within the globalization. So how to create specific places where to live together outside of a common and shared languages, but through a common and shared imaginary. Competition in 2011 was the Young Architect Program for under 35 years old offices made by the MoMA of New York and the Maxi of Rome. And it was a competition for an installation within a museum. And we proposed them a temporary public space. So we bet on the capability of contemporary architecture to create spaces for the social life. We take inspiration about the work of an American engraver from 18th century, John Squeensbury, who was a teacher of geography and invented the puzzle to teach to the children to learn geography. And so the idea was to create a puzzle space able to be to have different configuration, a closed configuration and an opened configuration, able to colonize the concrete space of a museum itself. And there was the plan that we presented, the drawings we presented about the competition with a closed plan, closed space, this one, and an opening space like an archipelago. And we designed a sort of landscape, a geographical landscape, able to be dissected and to be opened. And we presented this kind of model with an opened configuration, a closed one, and that was the image of competition. And we were aiming to creating a natural space through the artificial project of the architect, and so bringing back nature within the city through artificiality. So this was the images of the building site, the construction site, explaining how to create and to build up a grass, a natural soil on concrete ground through artificiality. And the idea was referring in another scale to the American way to create your parks. You well known the Central Park of New York was an artificial, really big engineering process. And so this is the way to create an ecological places with a straw structure and an iron pool, creating a puzzle of grass spaces, and creating this sort of dissected geography with grass surface able to be displayed on the space of museum to create spaces for rest and for people. And that other issue was to create an oniric space through the design of a single product, so the lamps, who created shadow in the day and light in the night, in order to be a sort of an iconic element, claiming the people from the neighborhood to discover the new museum and creating this sort of red foreground elements in front of the background of the ancient palaces of Rome. And it was the maquette that we presented, with the relationship between the concrete background and the foreground of the florals, the images of the square realized. And so they are issued the scale. So the scale of the museum, the scale with the people, the scale with the workers, the scale with the workers, the scale with the children. And this little square under the shade of the flowers. And the issue was how to create a space, a public playground, could be used 24 hours, because we are using public money, and so how to use the public money at the best for all the community and for all the different group of people of our communities and our citizenship. So what the capabilities of a form in order to create sociability. And this was the axionometry of competition. So there was a little square under the flowers, a little pool for the children, a space to rest and to take some bathing on the little islands. And the reference was the photos from Cartier-Bresson. It was like the people used the hill in a certain point of view, with a chaise-longue cat in the hill, or just to take a rest for the visitors, or to take a bath for the children, or to jump, to have games for the children, or in the night for the young people. So imagining a different hour population and different people attending the place in the night, the young, or in the light, in the late afternoon, the oldest people, and so on. A place where to take a drink.
Can I ask you a question?
Yep.
So for you, I mean, this is such an amazing project, first of all. And what is really interesting, I would like to ask you, is that do you see public space as a space of recreation or a space of production? Because it looks to me that you're not really simply doing this for entertainment. This has kind of different kinds of connotations within the space itself.
Well, with this project, we try to explain that the sociality is a form of production, because in the space of sociality we can share our knowledges, our different approach to the life, our different approach coming from our studies, our way of life, and so on. So we think that the public,
Can you be more precise?
the public spaces, we think, could be an arbor in order to create new knowledges, because it's the space where we can share our personal knowledge. So it's the infrastructure to produce and to share new dreams and so on.
I really love the image of workers, along the shade. After they start with the lights. Because in fact it's a space of production, right? And that's a space of recreation at the same time. So in that sense, I think it's an important project because it shows not only the nature, artificial nature in the city, it shows the ways of making the city being the city.
Thanks. Grazie.
We have friends all the
E adesso io bevo un bicchiere d'acqua e tu
I will let Simone drink a glass of water and present you another project we made in Paris. It's the refurbishment of the Hotel de Galifet, which is the siege of the Italian Cultural Institute in Paris. And it's about, the project is called Monsters and Invisible Figures, but what it is really about It's about reconnecting spaces which, in a building which is like this, more or less. It's a 17th century building, which was the ancient siege of the Taiwan ministry. And it's a building which has columns, which has an entrance, and which has also a garden behind. So the intention, the basic intention of the project, which was the refurbishment, that was really to give back some sense to the Italian Cultural Institute, which was like this, which had a fixed screen and metal trusses and all the lighting system appearing and so on. And this was the result of our intervention. So working with shapes in the sense of a continuity and working with the, let's say, cleaning of the ancient halls to give back the continuity between inside and outside, which were the principles on which this kind of buildings were conceived in the late back in the 17th century. So the nature outside was part, actually, of the architecture, and with the system of the stage with the hiding screen, you give back this function, this meaning to the building, while keeping on using, on having the possibility to use the screen. Also the mirrors and the ceiling, which was painted, was part of the ancient architecture, which represented, in fact, nature and multiple phases of nature. The nature outside the windows and the depicted nature, the painted nature inside of the buildings. So, and this is how, with let's say, a shape, a nice shape and a good functional thing, you can have both situations. This is another exhibition room before the intervention, and this is how afterwards we designed the refurbishment. So in continuity and interpreting with contemporary things, objects, or animals, like we call zoomorphic images that we are surrounded by. It means animals were guardians in ancient, before the entrance of ancient churches and so on. And we sort of imaginated this very ancient building populated by monsters, by what we call monsters. In fact, they are a display system that can be aggregated and disaggregated. This is the importance also of scale. It means that the dimensions of these objects that we inserted into the Italian Cultural Institute were calibrated right on site, specifically on site. So the proportions of the design were taken by the site, the specific site where they had to, let's say, dwell. And these are afterwards the possibilities of composition. You can have different possible configuration. We had also a very special study of the finishing of the varnish to make it, let's say, disappear when light touched it. So to make the reflections possible and to make it less, let's say, less heavy, or well, to make it like they were disappearing in light. These are the possible configuration where we can play, depending on the curator and on the different kind of things that we want to show. They can be either unique configuration or separated configuration. This is to present the other two associates of our firm, Francesco and Claudio, which now are in Italy, but they say hello to you anyway. And this is how the space is used since 2013 for the exhibitions of the Italian Cultural Institute. So depending on the kind of material, it can be used as a flexible space. Another project here talking about shape, scale, and scape is a neighborhood in Rome directly. This was a big competition. We have the Museum of the Arts of the 20th century, 21st century in Rome, Maxi by Zahavi, and this is the project area, a very big area for a new neighborhood of the science neighborhood. We are in the north part of Rome, and we are in a very special place because this is a very important axe. Here we have the Palazzetto dello Sport by Nervi, the Stadio Flaminio, and if you go on, you will have the auditorium by Renzo Piano. So let's say it has become a cultural district of Rome. And we worked mainly on the importance of the public space, of the void of the axis, and of the reconnection through the view of the one ancient dwelling part of the neighborhood, the new neighborhood we designed, the new city of science, and the museum and the public part. So the neighborhood that goes from public services to, let's say, more private parts. And one of the most important thing is that we designed, let's say, the void using the privileged sites, which means on that axis, when you stood in the new public plaza and you look through here, you can see St. Peter's Dome. This means that also recovering the old plot that was meant to be like this and that was interrupted by the barracks that were built there. And so this is basically how it looks like. So from here you can directly see the dome. And another kind of way of thinking the city and the spaces was this. It means, as you can see, buildings were organized on higher towers, higher buildings, and lower buildings. While the higher buildings looked at the important monuments or the privileged views in Rome, like St. Peter's Dome, like Monte Mario Hill, an ancient, the historical hills of Rome with buildings and so on, or the city center with all the domes emerging from the skyline and so on. So the highest part where looked at the far landscape, while the smaller parts, the lower parts, looked at the small gardens inside the neighborhood, so at a more local scale. Another line, let's say, of intervention that was here was the red one where what existed before our intervention. And what existed is not only architecture, but we preserved also the trees as a history mark. Ancient trees, 150 years old, we decided to keep them and to be part of the new project. This is from the Maxi Museum. It's nice because at our shoulders here we may have had the project you've seen before. So looking from the hills of Watami, you can see this if you only had one transportation.
We wouldn't have started this year.
Yeah, no, it's okay. And this is the boulevard on which we decided to put all the commercial spaces. and the alternates between buildings and green screens in the end designs the new neighborhood. So here you see in details how gardens, buildings, tall buildings, commercial streets are alternates to create a sort of continuous city, continuous space for sociability, but also well-defined spaces. And this, it's, the scale.
That's what I'm saying.
More further?
Two more.
Two more?
Two more.
Okay, so since we are friends, so here's a question. I mean, it's definitely the work that you do is very sensitive, and you have precision, and you present a future of part of the city in terms of urban identity. Especially when you go to showing St. Peter's, ideas that a city has something to, in fact, identify with. So, you guys are now in Philadelphia, okay? In the US. So, how many days do you spend here?
We arrived on Monday and we are going to stay until next Monday. 1 week.
Okay, so what is most striking to you by now from the city? It's not a trick question.
Well, for me, it's the sense, at least here in Philadelphia, the sense of non-extraneation. It means the sense of familiarity with the city, which is part of maybe of our imaginary. Because it has some historical parts, but not also because maybe the cultural landscape we were talking about before, it means the imaginary that you build about the United States through the films, through the movies, through also the readings of the books, and through imagining this society and the one of the oldest cities.
So that's great. So you feel familiar.
Yes.
Thank you.
You feel sort of.
Then my more precise question would then be, do you think about being on the street, being familiar, being on the street? Because that's very important for you in an American city. You know, the streets belong to the public.
Yeah, that's true.
So no overpasses, nothing like that. It's just really being on the street is a very...
It's a thing public rights.
Yeah. And also goes to boundary, maybe, because Philadelphia has to really clear boundaries, the two rivers. So it defined very well the city. He defined, for instance, he could define the waterfront, for instance, or the relationship between open spaces of the river through the spaces of the little streets or the little squares. So there's a sort of sequence, like in the movie, of scene and rooms, public open rooms, the rivers, the little streets, the great square, the little square, and so on, to the other river, and so on, or to the outskirts, for instance.
And what you were talking about before was also the issue of surprise, urban surprise. Is that what I read, is that what is familiar for you is an opportunity to have a surprise in the city.
Yeah.
So, come to the city and experience something that you didn't expect. Is that right?
Well, sometimes we would need not to be familiar, but to be surprised, right?
Okay, so why don't you guys present other projects and we discuss more?
Okay. This other project is working about the same issue of the present work, but not at the scale of master plan, but at the scale of the single building within a urban block. And So the design of the windows as a sort of system to perceive the city, but at the same time the urban block to create the unity of the city itself. It is a brick early 19th century block, so we research first of drawing how to have a montage of bricks facade, and then within this kind of brick block on the left side, how to work with the curtain facade in order to have a sort of brick frame could create a surprise in the evening. So just switching on the light within the building itself during the day. It was the model we presented to the client in order to narrow this relationship between the old brick building of the same block and the new building of brick, but in this sort of curtain wall building. This is taxonomy. And how we could use this frame to open to the city, just to view the city like a sort of kaleidoscope to perceive the city itself. And so this building was a sort of is a sort of store, a fashion store building, but the stairs are a system to perceive the city and to discover the city through the windows. So they are there's a sort of creating pictures of the city itself. Anche questo non lo dico. Non lo dico. And then the latest project we have just to inaugurate to open on Friday. We are it's a competition we won in 2013, and after having all the permission, we are going to open this week. Because Francesco and Claudio are not here with us today. Also because they have to work in the office, because not everybody could be everywhere and free. So here we are nearby Ravenna, and we decided to work on the climatic condition like an aesthetic suggestion. This is a really flattened landscape with where the fog is really present for a lot of months during the year. So we decided to work with the suggestion of VGD, the also photographer, denouncing the presence of man through the lights within the fog. It was a public square competition for an enclosed square. It was the ancient terminal of the Silk Road in north of Italy, and it was this sort of enclosed square. This is the images of the place. And this was our proposal, looking at the foggy movies by Fellini or the foggy set of Vigili photographs. They can see the presence of the man, the life, city life through the light. And we decided to do not draw any big urban elements, but to not face the ancient building and the ancient porch. And so we decided to draw this kind of benches, just cutting the land and morphing the ground of the pavement. And it was how we started, with several blocks able to create different hues. And the other issue was to use the history of the topography of the city like a way to cut, in an artistic point of view, the ground itself. So to creating graffitos on the pavement ground with a Roman garden the Woman path, with the Renaissance path, with our interpretation, in order to create different spaces for life. A little forest, and with this kind of benches could be game for children or benches for people. And it is photos during the year. This is how we prepare the trucks, the model trucks, and how we finished with this kind of transparent asphalt on granite soil. Just images during the yard, the construction site, with the fog from behind.
Just so we arrive.
So the other issues was to narrow this place like in the ancient period. From a certain point of view, we can recognize the contemporary sideness. So our benches and the lamps, they are waiting to be placed and so on. But on the other side, this one, the back of the benches represent the space, the set spaces of the ancient fair, siege place, like in the historical period. So, depending from the point of view, you have the historical point of view or the contemporary point of view. So, innovating the space.
Can I expand on that a little bit? It's very interesting. Did you say the space of sadness?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Can you say more about that?
Can you say?
I mean, optimistically. Or whatever.
But more than sadness space is intimacy space. So this sort of landscape could be the landscape of Rimini, of summer hedonistic place, but in winter it's a sort of really relaxed and quiet place, but in reality it's a lived place where the people of the different towns and different villages live every day. So it was interesting for us to bring back from the movies to the real space this character, this kind of
It's very
ability.
It's very interesting because, the landscape design, say, in the United States, Philadelphia is very pragmatic and very much open, to opportunity to simply relaxing doing works and jobs, something like that. And what you bring is this kind of sense of melancholy.
It's Italian.
Okay, that's fine. And in a sense, as an added quality to the design, because your design is, well crafted. They have geometry which is very contemporary. I'm sure you use software. That was one of my questions. Like, how do you guys work? I mean, how is your office like?
Okay,
Do you have like a big, beautiful space that you're working, or?
Yeah, we are working. Our office is an ancient mill.
Okay.
So it's really quite a space because it's a mill from 19th century, just nearby the aqueduct. So you can see the city from the top of the aqueduct, and the aqueduct, the Roman aqueduct entering with it from to the park below. So is the park, the Mandrione photograph?
I think it's very important. I think this is very important because, say for example, okay, let's just imagine a scenario that you get a project in Philadelphia. All right. So, which you should. And in fact, I think it's not really simply what you do, but also the way how you do it is also very important. That's why I'm asking about your office space, because it seems to me is that place that you work with, where you make things, affects what you actually imagine and what you actually put down in the public sphere.
No doubt that living in Rome and also working so much in a space which is a shared space, or it's not just a small apartment, it's an open space. It's a next industrial space with wooden floors, big racks for books and so on. We have a reading table or also a model table that we use. So the way we are 4 associates, but basically 3 guys working with 3 guys working fixed with us, and sometimes more. It depends on the necessities. If you are traveling a lot, there are many people working at the office. If you're staying in Rome, we're a team of 7.
It's very important